But
Tommy
I don't know that you didn't know he could sing. You sang on he sang on the Oscars.
Oh, that was a horrible. I mean, I should never. It was one of the great disasters of all time.
Are you okay with me bringing it up?
Oh, it's the centerpiece of my one-man show.
The glittering lights of Hollywood's biggest night have witnessed many unforgettable moments, but few have burned as brightly in infamy as the chaotic opening number of the 1989 Academy Awards. For more than 3 decades, one name has remained synonymous with that spectacular failure, Rob Lowe. The then 25-year-old heartthrob found himself thrust into an entertainment disaster so profound that it spawned lawsuits, ended careers, and left an indelible mark on Oscar history. After years of deflection, humor, and carefully crafted responses, the actor has finally opened up about the experience that nearly derailed his career at its peak. The making of a disaster. The stage was set for what producer Allan Carr promised would be the most elegant production ever on television. Fresh off the success of Grease, Carr had convinced the Academy to let him revolutionize the Oscars ceremony for 1989. His vision was grandiose: 11 elaborate sets, 6 million flowers, and enough fabric to cover the Empire State Building. The Academy, desperate to shake off criticism of previous ceremonies being parched, drab, and leaden, gave Carr carte blanche to reimagine their most important night. At the center of his ambitious opening number was an unlikely pairing. Rob Lowe, then at the height of his Brat Pack fame, was recruited to perform alongside Eileen Bowman, a 22-year-old unknown actress cast as Snow White. The concept seems straightforward enough. A modern-day movie star meets Disney's most famous princess in a musical celebration of Hollywood magic. What could go wrong? The warning signs were there from the beginning. Lowe later admitted to being naive about the production, telling interviewers, quote, "The Academy asked me to do it. I was young and naive, and I thought, well, it's the Academy, they must know what's best." He was also drawn to the project because of his admiration for Oscar-winning composer Marvin Hamlisch, who had written the musical arrangements. For Lowe, being asked to perform at the Academy Awards felt like being invited to the White House, an honor that didn't warrant questioning. Behind the scenes, production was spiraling towards chaos. Bowman, earning just $350 per week for her role, found herself at the center of a massive production she couldn't fully comprehend. The rehearsals were intense, the costumes elaborate, and the expectations astronomical. The night everything went wrong. On March 29, 1989, as cameras rolled and a global audience of over 42 million viewers tuned in, the 61st Academy Awards began with what would become the most ridiculed opening in Oscar history. Snow White, in a crystallized Bob Mackie dress and bouncy wig, burst into the Shrine Auditorium singing a mangled version of I Only Have Eyes for You, while desperately attempting to grasp the hands of mortified A-list celebrities. The reactions of the assembled stars told the story better than any review could. Sigourney Weaver smoothly adjusted herself to avoid Bowman's touch, while Tom Hanks shook her hand with bemused confusion. Michelle Pfeiffer pulled away the moment she was able, and Robert Downey Jr. visibly questioned his sobriety as the ordeal continued. Martin Landau was the only one to show genuine compassion, later telling The Hollywood Reporter it wasn't her fault and he felt for her, adding that poor Snow White didn't have the dwarves there to support her. The spectacle escalated when Merv Griffin emerged singing I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts in a fake British accent, introducing Snow White to her blind date for the evening. Enter Rob Lowe, crawling on his belly down the stage steps in what can only be described as one of the most surreal moments in television history. What followed was their infamous duet of a reworked Proud Mary, with lyrics that included gems like used to work a lot for Walt Disney, starring in cartoons every night and day. Lowe's realization that something was terribly wrong came when he spotted director Barry Levinson in the audience. Quote, I remember vividly looking out into the audience and seeing Barry Levinson, who on that particular evening was the belle of the ball with Rain Man, and I could see him very clearly pop-eyed and mouthing, what the expletive. But in a moment that would define his response to the debacle for years to come, Lowe's actor's instinct kicked in. Quote, to be a successful actor, you have to have a big dollop of self-denial, so I managed to convince myself that I'd killed it. The nightmare continued for nearly 12 minutes. Culminating with Snow White wearing a bust-sized replica of Grauman's Chinese Theater on her head, from which Lily Tomlin magically appeared. When it finally ended, the damage was immediate and irreversible. The opening had created what New York Times critic Janet Maslin called the impression, quote, that there would never be a 60-second Academy Awards ceremony. The brutal aftermath. The response to the opening number was swift and merciless. Within days, 17 of Hollywood's most respected figures, including Paul Newman, Julie Andrews, Gregory Peck, and Billy Wilder, signed a scathing letter denouncing the ceremony as, quote, an embarrassment to both the Academy and the entire motion picture industry. The letter declared the performance neither fitting nor acceptable for acknowledging the best work in cinema. Disney's reaction was equally severe. The entertainment giant immediately filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against the Academy, claiming the unauthorized use of Snow White had, quote, unintentionally created the impression that Disney had participated in or sanctioned the opening production number. The timing couldn't have been worse for Disney, which had recently partnered with MGM to promote their new theme park. The controversy forced Academy President Richard Kahn to issue a public apology, and the lawsuit was dropped. For the participants, the consequences were devastating. Allan Carr's Hollywood career effectively ended that night, and he never worked as a major producer again. He died of liver cancer a decade later, aged 62. His reputation never fully recovered from the disaster. Eileen Bowman faced perhaps the cruelest fate. The next morning, she awoke to find a lawyer at her door with papers to sign, including what she claimed was a 13-year gag order preventing her from discussing the performance. Her acting career was over before it had truly begun. Lowe described his backstage experience as a surreal contrast to the media frenzy outside. He recounted how, upon arriving at the green room, Lucille Ball remarked that she hadn't realized he was such a good singer. She then asked him to sit beside her, hold her hand, and watch the next 20 minutes of the Oscars together. Reflecting on the moment, Lowe explained that the iconic comedian comforted him during the chaos, sharing that by the end of the night, Ball had enjoyed the Oscars. He concluded her approval was all that truly mattered to him. A new perspective emerges. In recent years, particularly as Lowe has entered his 60s, a markedly different tone has emerged in his discussions of that night. Rather than simply dismissing the experience or making light of it, he's begun to acknowledge both the genuine trauma of the moment and the unexpected benefits that followed. Throughout interviews in 2024 and 2025, he expressed a renewed willingness to reflect on the infamous incident with a mature perspective. He remarked that in an era where staying relevant is crucial, he had gained more money and recognition from participating in the Oscar opening number than he ever would have by winning an Oscar. His candid reflection underscored an actor who had come to appreciate the value in what was once considered a moment of sheer embarrassment. The transformation in Lowe's attitude reflects a broader evolution in his approach to fame and career setbacks. Having survived not just the Oscar disaster, but also a sex tape scandal, struggles with alcoholism, and various career ups and downs, he's developed what might be called the wisdom of experience. At 60, Lowe has told Forbes, quote, "I've never felt stronger," a statement that encompasses not just his physical and mental health, but also his ability to contextualize the challenges that once seemed insurmountable. Perhaps most tellingly, he's begun to acknowledge that the disaster taught him valuable lessons about the entertainment industry itself. He reflected on the challenges of hosting major award shows, noting that it's essentially, quote, "a show that nobody wants to do." Now it's time to hear from you. Do you remember watching the Oscars that year? Let us know in the comment section below.